Revolution Radio proudly presents, live from the heart of the Blue Ridge, Roanoke, Virginia. It's the Just Bernard Show with host Bernard Alvarez. Join Bernard as he shares topics that reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience, including world liberty, the esoteric, suppressed technologies, spiritual ascension, and human consciousness. Humanity has awakened, and our time has come to realize our full potential. And now, live from the Star City, your host, Bernard Alvarez.
Let me tell you a bit about my guest. Today, we are going to be talking about predictions for 2016 and beyond. The prophets through the centuries have given us apocalyptic visions of the future. But were those visions of a distant timeline or events that will transpire in our lifetime? Although the prophets describe a dire future, they say we can alter the future to some degree. They say that if we listen to their warnings and take action now, a beautiful golden age awaits us. Betsey Lewis is an author, an internationally renowned psychic medium, and Earth Mysteries investigator. She's investigated UFO sightings, cattle mutilations, angels, aliens, and other Earth mysteries for over 40 years. She's been a guest on Coast to Coast many times and is a guest on other popular TV and talk radio shows, and is a regular here on the Just Bernard Show. So welcome, my friend Betsey Lewis, to the show. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Bernard. It's great to be back on your show again.
It's always a pleasure to have you, Betsey, and you always have
Thank
such
you.
interesting new information for us.
I do. I really have a lot about Planet X, too, and what's going on with our planet.
Oh, very interesting. Now, without giving too much away, is that planet they think they found outside of Pluto?
Yes. Caltech, two scientists with Caltech announced it just a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying Planet X. Now, this is really the interesting part. I listened to Linda Moulton Howe on Coast to Coast the other night. She was on January 28th, and what's really interesting is she talked to one of the scientists, Mike Brown of Caltech, and he was backpedaling like crazy. I mean, it would make your head spin how fast he was backpedaling on this whole story. But when the story first ran, he said, this is his exact quote: "If you say we have evidence of Planet X, almost any astronomer will say this again. These guys are clearly crazy. I would too," Brown says. "Why is this different? This is different because this time we're right."
Oh, wow.
I know. And now, on the show, she had this interview with him. It was a taped interview, but he was saying, well, maybe it's not, and we haven't seen it. But that's not true. NASA did see Planet X in 1983, and they ran a story on it. So there is some very strange things going on right now. And I think people are seeing it in the sky. I don't know if you've seen some of these YouTube videos, and there was one that was captured in California recently. It was with the rising sun, and there is something there. I mean, it's huge, and it's next to the sun. It wasn't a lens flare, and it's posted on my website. So if they get a chance, go to betseylewis.com, and they'll see it on my Earth News One.
Very
blog.
interesting. I had one of our fans sent me a picture that they took themselves, and you can see they're like, I saw two suns, and I'm like, what? And they sent me the picture, and you can see a little something next to the sun. That was about a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, Betsey, let's remind me, because I forget the fullness of it, but as well as our listeners, Planet X is believed to have this huge orbit, so it only comes around every so many thousands of years.
Right. Well, Zacharias Sitchin said originally 3,600 years, and that's what a lot of people hypothesize about it. It is a brown dwarf, a failed star. That means that it was part of we had twins, twin stars here in our solar system at one time, they believe, because just about every solar system out there has binary suns.
Yeah.
And that would make sense that this planet X, which is as large as Jupiter, comes through our solar system. Sometimes it comes in a little closer with its orbit. And that's when we start getting all these Earth changes. It affects all the outer planets too. So we're seeing that. And we're getting a lot of Earth changes. Since 2016, I predicted this, that we're going to see increased earthquakes, and we are right now. Today, I was just posting, about all these earthquakes and these mysterious booms that people are hearing. I think just about every state has heard them, and I've noticed the connection between very large earthquakes and these mysterious booms. Isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting because I had noticed the last couple of days, maybe 4 or 5 days ago, the big boom they heard in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think another one like in South Carolina or something. What did they say what this is? Or
well, in New Jersey, the Navy said that it was a jet breaking the sound barrier. It was a sonic boom, but I don't think they told the truth. And maybe there was a jet over there, but what they said was it was shaking so strong that people felt it in the ground. Now I grew up with sonic booms that before they stopped them over cities, and I know that they shake windows and they're very loud, but I never, excuse me, I never felt any earth shaking. Have you ever felt any shaking with a sonic boom?
No.
I mean, the earth actually shaking? Well, it did. And that's why I think they weren't telling the truth. I think that, we're going to start hearing a lot of disinformation too from Caltech, from NASA, but it's going to be an interesting year, let me tell you.
I feel it in my bones. Oh, yes, yeah. Me too. Now, Betsey, let me ask you, your book, Predictions 2016 and Beyond, why did you feel this was the time to write this book? What is it about now in the history of humanity that this type of information needs to be put out there in your belief?
Oh, good question. Hold on just a minute. My cat wants out of the room.
Oh, I love when they do that.
I know.
And as a matter of fact, I'm going to open my window so my cat can go out when it feels like it.
Always does that to me.
Always.
It never fails. I should have kicked him out earlier. Well, I had these vivid, lucid dreams when I was 7 years old of just humongous earthquakes and volcanoes going off worldwide. I had dreams of huge tsunami-type waves coming in, and I felt that I was going to see it in my lifetime, later in my lifetime. And it's very strange that I had these dreams. I mean, they were just repeating over and over and over, and I always felt that there was a message with it, and that later when I was meant to know what it was about. And I think that we're seeing these earth changes now because our earth is going through a transition just like we are. We're all evolving, and we're going to see more and more of these earth changes as the earth tries to eliminate toxins. She's going to go through a cleansing, and it's just part of a cycle that goes on.
Absolutely. And, I have to relate to what you're saying because I too, like I guess when I got involved in this work in my 20s, I was getting a lot of, for lack of a better term, very cataclysmic dreams. And
Really?
I literally had a vision of a neighbor of mine who had a baby, and I had a vision of the baby looking at me and saying, I will never grow to my full old age. The planet will die before I can. And it was the most horrible, horrible vision I had. And that's what got me very involved in like the eco movement back then.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it seems like, and I don't know if you're feeling the same thing. It seems like we've already kind of went around or somehow jumped timelines, whereas so many of these cataclysmic events could have already happened, but we seem to have skipped them. What is your idea of these
Well,
timelines?
I don't know. I start looking at what Apostle John said 2,000 years ago, and this is in Revelations. And what he's either describing is an atomic or a nuclear bomb, maybe a thermonuclear bomb going off, destroying our world, or he was describing Planet X shifting our poles. And we know that there has been some just huge geological changes with our history, Earth's history. The mammoths they found in Siberia, they were piled up with daisies in their mouth. They were frozen solid. So a huge wind came up.
Wow.
We know the dinosaurs were wiped out just almost instantly.
Yeah.
So these things have happened in our past. Was it a comet? Was it a meteor? Was it an asteroid? There's so many different things, but some of these descriptions, and Hal Lindsey wrote a book during the 70s called The Late Great Planet Earth, and also There's a New World Coming. And he went through Revelation, and he said so much of it sounded like a nuclear explosion. And what he said was, in Revelation 6:13, it says, "And the stars of heaven fell unto earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and every island were moved out of their places." And here's what happens with a nuclear explosion. The atmosphere actually rolls back on itself. It's this tremendous rush of air that backs into the vacuum that causes much of the destruction of the nuclear explosion. So was he describing that? And look what we're doing. I mean, North Korea just bragged about detonating a thermonuclear warhead recently. Now, scientists say that it was probably just a nuclear bomb, but that's pretty crazy. I mean, he's kind of a loose cannon anyway.
Oh God, yeah.
Isn't he? I know. And, we're just, even now the atomic scientists are saying we're at doomsday. We're 3 minutes before midnight, which means we're just, we are right at the time where we could destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're doing that with what we're doing with the ecology, our environment. We're just destroying everything. Our oceans are becoming so polluted. There's so many fish and the whales, everything seems to be dying. Our waters are being polluted. I mean, that's why we are the water beings of Earth. If we destroy our water, we have nothing to live on. And certainly look at Flint, Michigan recently with that whole thing. They have no fresh water now because of the toxins that are going through. They switched to the river or something. They started bringing in all this water, and now they've got all this lead in the water, and these poor children growing up, lead poisoning is one of the worst.
And speaking of our environment, and I hate to call them environmental commodities, but that's what they've turned into with water and whatnot. One of the only negative, I don't want to say negative, but I guess it is a negative thing that I wrote in my book that I was channeling through, and it said, beware that next they will commodify the air and sell it back to you. And recently I am seeing advertising, I don't know if it's in Japan or whatnot, people are selling bottled air.
Oh my gosh.
I was like,
it's
you
happening.
have got to be kidding me. This is happening.
Right.
And wasn't there a Disney cartoon or a Pixar cartoon? Was it Up or I don't remember. One of them where they were selling air in the cartoon. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Isn't that scary? That is,
I mean, water is one thing, but air?
That's insane, isn't it? What is going on with our planet? What are we thinking? I know. I never dreamed. I knew there would be earth changes, but never did I think that we would destroy everything that the earth gives us. Earth is our mother. She gives us everything, air and water and food and plants, and we're destroying just, trees and plants and just everything. There's 7.3 billion of us on the planet, and if we continue this, where are we going to go? We certainly can't go to Mars. We can't go to the moon to live. What are we going to do? It's the indigenous people have known for many years because the sky beings have warned them of earth changes coming. And they say that they'll be the ones to survive because we live in the cities and we expect that when all these things start happening, that we can just rush to a store to get things, but they know
Right.
how to live off the earth. They
Yeah.
have a reverence for the earth and appreciate everything. And maybe that's why they get these messages from the star beings. I
Uh,
think that's what it is.
I believe that absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now let me ask you, Betsy,
Mm-hmm.
in looking over the prophecies that you've been studying, and whether there be saints or indigenous people, is there a common denominator now? Like for me, when I look at the world the way it is, and the road we're heading, which hopefully will be deterred as we continue
Mm-hmm.
to evolve in our awakening, I can't help but feel that the direction we're going in that is consumed and directed by greed,
Mm-hmm.
corporations,
Mm-hmm.
warmongering, what do they call that? I don't want to say capitalism, but like flagrant capitalism. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I- is there anything in the prophecies that you see where we come out of this? I mean,
Yes.
I can't
Yes.
help but feel, and I wonder what your thoughts are on this. I can't help but feel, whatever our political leanings are individually, I can't help but feel as I'm seeing the awakening unfold
Mm-hmm.
that the message that someone like Senator Sanders is saying, and the message that some of these other out of the box politicians are saying, are a part of that awakening and a
Right.
part of that
Right.
unfolding. That we have to stop with this. We have to stop doing things the way that we're doing it. What are your thoughts based on what you've studied?
Well, good question, Bernard. But what I have studied from the indigenous people, like Black Elk, he was Naglala holy man, and he lived from 1863 to 1950. When he was a child, he had many, many visions, and he saw the earth, dying, the waters dirtied and smelling horrible. He saw the blue man creating the sickness on Mother Earth. And he said the four directions represented the four horses. And he said that the blue man was beaten back. Now, the blue man, many people believe that what he was talking about was the corporations, the greed, and he is going to be beaten back. He is the powerful of the world. And what a great way to show that. He believed that they were actually ETs that had shown him this incredible vision of the earth and how it would come back to life again. But what's really interesting is that one of his cousins told this story that when he was in a sweat lodge, and he said that suddenly there was a spaceship that was hovering over the sweat lodge, and suddenly this rock dropped between his feet, and he carried that rock with him all the time. And he said whenever he lit his sacred pipe, he would laugh and call his pipe the antenna for connecting to the star people. So that isn't that
That's
interesting. but
wonderful.
but he saw, them as the blue man, and they would be defeated. So, and many of the indigenous people, the Maya, the Hopi, the 13 indigenous grandmothers, Corbin Harney, Eagle Man, they all say that if we come together, if we unite and we show a reverence for the earth changes will be lessened. And I believe that. I think that if we show more reverence to the earth, when we take the oil out of her, we take all these minerals out of her, that it will be a different place, a different world. And I believe that is coming. I think that maybe there will be these earth changes to awaken us, which, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing to have these, the cleansing.
Hmm.
And it's also shaking us into another higher evolution, into a higher rate of vibration,
Yeah.
which we need right now.
We certainly do, Betsy, and I have to giggle when you say it's not a bad thing, because I have been in that place where, oh,
Really?
just let us have a catastrophe so we all get out of this funk that we're in. I'm like, maybe it's
I
not a bad
know.
thing if a comet
Yes.
blows up half the earth. It'll teach us a lesson,
Hmm.
We'll figure we have to start from new and start over again. Hopefully, we won't have to get to that point at this point.
Right. Right.
And we have so many within the movement, whether the consciousness activists, truther movement, and they're like, oh, this has to happen
Mhm.
tomorrow. Well, if it happens tomorrow, that means the entire collapse of society has to happen tomorrow. I feel that hopefully, if we can get it right, we don't have to go to that extreme.
Right. Well, that's what I'm hoping to.
Absolutely. Now, um, we've only got about 3 or 4 minutes before the break, but as far as these prophecies are
Hmm.
concerned, and the way, like these things, bad things that are happening to the planet, is it? And I know this is going to be like a silly question, but I need our listeners to know this: is it God punishing us, or is it just us reaping what we have sown?
I think it's reaping what we've sown. And I think the ETs are out there watching it. They said, they believe that we made this mess and we're going to have to learn how to clean up our own mess. They are trying to guide us in ways, but they can't come down and just clean everything up. I think they have the technology to do it, to clean up the earth, but it's up to us. That's part of our evolution. That's part of our karma here.
Learning how to take care of our home
Yeah,
and each other.
right. Exactly.
I
So true.
it's funny. I got into I'm sure you have them too. These Facebook debates, and I
Oh
was
yeah.
I've been called a socialist. I've been called a communist, and I'm like, it's funny how if it's a co-op in your neighborhood, that's one thing, but if
Right.
there's free education and free healthcare, that's socialism and communism. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm I'm actually beyond that. I believe to get rid of the monetary system completely, but to first we have to learn how to share, and that's where the steps of having a cooperative economy versus a capitalistic economy comes in. We have to learn it's not ours, it's not mine, it's ours. And I feel that has a lot to do with the way that we're moving into either the destruction or the healing of the planet. When
Right.
we believe and we start to see the planet as ours and not
Hmm.
this piece of land as mine, the whole
Right.
the whole paradigm shift, the whole way we look at things shift. Anyway, we're up on a commercial. We will continue this fascinating.
And now, back to your host, Bernard Alvarez.
And welcome back to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Let me just tell you that I want to let everybody know that a week from today, I am going to be doing something I have never done before. I'm going to be doing a live interactive seminar called The Awakening Code: Tools to Help Your Awakening and Ascending to the Fifth Dimension. This is the first time I'm doing this. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to make it very interactive. You can literally come on the video player with me and ask questions. You can do questions live in the text as well and do instant messages. We're going to keep it as a discussion as well as a seminar. It's very exciting. This has never been done with me before. And you can find out more information about the Awakening Code, and that's a week from today, February 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can get more information at my website, bernardalvarez.com. Just scroll down a little bit. You can click to buy your tickets there. The cost is $20, and it should be very, very interesting. And I look forward to discussing with people the awakening and what we're doing to enhance our consciousness and the tools that we can to hopefully avert some of these disasters that we're talking about here. Um, so welcome back to the show, Betsy. I see that someone in the chat room posted the bottled air.
Oh,
Vitality Air is hand bottled mountain oxygen from Banff and Lake Louise. Sells for $13 and up.
wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Well, whoever thought we'd be paying for bottled water?
You can
I mean,
say that again.
yeah, it's insane what we're doing, to our planet. This is our home, and we've got to take better care of it. We've got to, Carl Sagan said it best. He was the astrophysicist, and he said, if you look at Earth from space, you see a dot. That's here. That's home. That's us.
Yeah.
It underscores the responsibility to deal more kindly and compassionately with one another, and to preserve and cherish that pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. Well, that how true, right?
Very extremely, and
Mhm,
it puts a perspective on it that most of us aren't taught, and we're definitely distracted from that perspective.
mhm.
Now, Mary Summer Rain wrote Phoenix Rising about her Native American mentor No Eyes and her prophecy.
Yes.
What shocked you about her predictions, and how do they apply to our present time, Betsy?
Well, actually, she actually wrote the book during the early 80s, but she didn't get it published until 1987. But I was just blown away because I started reading the Phoenix Rising. She's written many books, but Phoenix Rising was published in 1987, and it tells that we are going to start having these sinkholes forming all over the earth, which we are. We're
Yeah.
seeing that everywhere. She talked about the earth and the moaning and the groaning. And now we're hearing these mysterious booms that people are hearing all over the world. Like I said, just about every what am I saying? Every city has had these booms, mysterious booms and shaking that aren't related to sonic booms or related to any seismic activity, according to the USGS. So, she was talking about volcanoes going up. We're seeing more volcanoes around the world getting more active, huge droughts and then floods. Look at the floods now that we're having all over the world. We're just seeing extreme weather
Yeah.
everywhere. So, and then she talked about these big tearings that are going to happen in the earth. And recently there was a huge gash that formed in Wyoming, and scientists can't explain it. They thought maybe perhaps a volcano's forming there.
Oh,
So there is some weird things going on, and she was predicting it during the 80s before anybody was talking about, she doesn't say Planet X or anything like that, but certainly these predictions are coming true now. It took longer than she thought, or No Eyes told her. If No Eyes did exist, maybe it was Mary Summer Rain that
right.
was the psychic one. But it's interesting, that now we're seeing everything that she predicted. So,
Yeah.
I think we're in those times. We're going to see a lot more changes. And I've been feeling that too for a long, long time. And I hate to tell that because people think you're Chicken Little right out there
Right.
saying it's the end of the world. But I don't believe it's the end of the world. I believe we can change things. I believe the timelines can be changed. And we are the ones that can change it. We're the ones that have the power. And we've forgotten our incredible power and just how incredible beings we are. We came here at this time to learn these lessons about Earth, and there's no coincidence that you're here on this planet now, learning and trying to learn more love and compassion. That's part of it. But also that, these are hard times for all of us right now. I see the young children are so connected to the internet, and they've forgotten all these spiritual values, and that there is another reality that exists, that coexists with our own. And I'd like to see them get back to that. I'd like to see them understanding more about the earth and how alive everything is. Everything is a sentient being out there. The trees, the plants, everything, they respond to us. Mother Earth responds to us if we talk to Mother Earth. And the indigenous people have always known that. And I just hope that's something that we get back to. Ancient, indigenous wisdom.
Yes, yes. And the good news is I do believe there's been a push in that direction, at least for me and in my communities. But going back to what you said about, the Chicken Little thing, I have to bring something up about that because, I do agree we need to sound the alarm. I mean, absolutely. There's a difference to me of putting out information and sending out fear porn to people that just get off on this stuff,
Right.
the Inquirer readers of the world or whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
even within my own experience, I mean, and I'm sure, you read my book, when I had my experience of connecting with these transdimensional beings, the first thing they showed me was everything that was screwed up. They showed me war, they showed me poverty, racism, the destruction of the planet. And then they said, you must teach everyone the way back to source. That's how we're going to change this, the reconnecting with source. But first we have to know that we need to reconnect with source. And that is why, work that like this book is that you're sharing the information in your book helps us to sound that alarm to say, hey, this is where we could be headed if we don't change things.
And you're so right about going back to source. I was just thinking that before you even said it, we must be on the same wavelength.
Right.
But I've always believed that we have to go back to the God consciousness, because we all came from that. And we have to realize that we are all related, that everything is related to us, that everything is connected. The sun, the moon, the stars, everyone, no matter what color, no matter what religion, we're all connected. And we have to stop this insanity of killing each other for, our beliefs. And, it's just crazy what we're doing. But I feel that this new world is coming, and it may take a while to get there. I'm not sure that all of us will see it, but it is coming. But we're going to come back, and that's the good thing.
I was going to say we'll see it next life.
We never die. Life is in infinity.
Yes.
We go on forever. We have been here forever. And I'm reading a great book. It was by the late Dr. Wayne Dyer and Dee Garnes, Memories of Heaven, about these astounding children that tell about, remembering, before they were born, that they were on a cloud and suddenly they went in this hole and they were born again. And they remember, seeing their relatives, like a grandfather that they'd never met, and talk about that. Just incredible stories. And, it just confirms that, that our world is so much more than we ever thought it was.
Right. Now, something to be said for predictions that fail, so to speak. We, unfortunately, a lot of people in our movement kind of fell by the wayside after 2012, and a lot of people are pro after 2012, and unfortunately a lot of people that were very involved in changing the planet got disheartened by the whole 2012 garbage that went on. I mean, so many crazy things were being said, and I fell for a couple of them back in the what was it, 2007? Remember Blossom Goodchild Treva? Blossom Goodchild back in the day was telling everybody, "Oh, the ships are coming to land and pick us up," and I'm running outside looking for the ships. And
well, I know. Maitreya. Did you ever get into that? The Maitreya
no, but I did know
movement.
people that were very much involved with that, and I said I don't want to touch that.
Well, I was working at Disney at the time in Burbank, and there was a couple that was so into Maitreya and was a Dr. Snow that and said, this is all going to happen, and he's going to take over the airwaves any minute now. And I said, well, okay, I'll have to see this to believe it, but it never happened.
No,
Um,
no.
and a lot of, like you said, a lot of these predictions haven't come true. And it might be because, timelines do change,
Yes.
or they're not going to happen. Edgar Casey said around the year 2000 that the Earth was going to shift,
Right.
and it hasn't happened. But maybe everything has been put off for a while. Maybe we change things. I think when certain events happen, and I call them prime events, that changes everything in our reality and in our timeline. And time is just an illusion. The past, the present, and future all happening at once. But we
Yes.
can change things. We really can change things. And that's up to us, our thinking, our consciousness. When we put fear into the world, into the consciousness, we are creating even stronger emotions that go into the earth, and Mother Earth feels that, and we're probably getting more of these earthquakes because we're putting more fear and more anger into her
Yes.
at this time. And I don't believe she wants to survive. She's not taking retribution out on us. She wants to survive. Every living organism tries to survive if it's being destroyed, right?
Absolutely.
And she is an organism. She is alive. Everything about her is alive. And that's something we all have to learn about. And I think she warns us too before earthquakes. I've been warned many times, not just by animals and the reaction to something that's going to happen. They can feel the stress waves in the earth, but pets,
Yes.
wild animals feel it. There are just all kinds of signs. Before a big earthquake, I know there's the smell of ozone, heavy ozone. There's water tables change before a big earthquake. A lot of times, like the big one in Japan in 2011, there were mass fish dying all
Yeah.
over the world, just coming up on shores. And I think that was methane coming up from the ocean, deep in the ocean, that was killing these fish. So that was another sign. There was a lot of orbs, which might have been the earthquake lights, but it might have been UFOs also
Absolutely.
warning us. So there are those warnings that we have to listen to the earth and be prepared. Nobody seems to be prepared out there for any kind of disaster. And I think, you never know. The people for Hurricane Sandy weren't prepared. We've had all those floods down in Texas last year, and no one was prepared for that. You have to get to higher ground. You have to listen to when they say these floods are coming or all these rains are coming. Nobody is prepared. Be
No,
prepared for
absolutely.
anything.
I have,
It doesn't hurt.
no, it doesn't. And I'll tell you, I have my go bag ready. I do. I always have a go
Yep.
bag ready. And it's
Okay.
nothing much. I mean, it's got a flashlight, it's got a crank radio, and
Great.
a little plastic tent to throw up if I need it, and a compass. But
Perfect.
but
That's perfect.
if anything, I'm sitting here thinking about Edgar Casey because he did affect a lot of
Mm,
my life, and I loved reading him.
yeah.
And one of the reasons why I stayed in the Roanoke area was because of what he said and the earth shifts. And I
Mhm.
figured this was a very safe place. There's a river nearby, I can boil the water if I need to.
Right.
The sad thing is that people are and I think the point goes to they're not only they're not only not prepared, they're just not conscious of the world around them, and that's why
Mhm.
they're not prepared. And it goes back to what you're saying of reconnecting with the earth, reconnecting with the life of everything that is out there. Now, to jump into a little bit more content in the book, let's talk about um, in 1917, the three children were visited by a Marian apparition for 6 months. Now, is this the Lady of
Phantom.
Lords? Where
Uh,
was
Fatima. No, this
Fatima?
isn't
Fatima,
Fatima.
yes.
Fatima.
And they never released the final prophecy. What do you think?
No.
What do you think about that, and why haven't they revealed it?
Well, I think in many of these instances, these are actually sky beings or ETs that have warned them, and they came back as religious figures so the children wouldn't be frightened. But these children saw horrible things. They saw World War One, they saw World War Two. I think World War One was just beginning through that era, but they saw World War Two. But I think it has to do with the earth changes right now. And that's why the church doesn't want to release it. And, it's funny. They were supposed to have released it in 1968, and they didn't release that final prophecy. And they still haven't. And Jesus had asked Lucia, she was the eldest one of the children that survived. She didn't die from the Spanish flu that the other two children died of when they were very young. She lived to be in her 90s and became a nun, cloistered nun. But they never listened to her, and they kept her very quiet. They didn't want her giving any interviews. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Keep your mouth shut, nun.
I was going to say, if anything, it probably wasn't released because the NSA doesn't want it released. So Betsey, we have about 5 minutes left, and I'm wondering, I know that you are very proficient at making predictions, and I'm sure you have some predictions of your own. So what are you seeing coming this year and beyond? What are you feeling? What are you sensing?
Well, I feel that there's just going to be some huge earth changes and a lot of crazy weather out there. That's why I want people to prepare for it. It's on my website, many of these predictions, and also in my new book, Predictions 2016 and Beyond. But I feel that that's going to happen. I think technology, we're going to see more 3D holographic images, and they're going to become so real you can actually touch them. And I think the ETs have already used this technology for a long time. We're going to have that. And lightsabers from Star Wars, hey, that's going to be something that's going to be in our future. These things will be able to stun, paralyze, or actually kill someone. And that's not great technology, but there are many things that are going to be, that started out as science fiction that are going to become reality. And so many things are. The Dick Tracy watch, now we have it, the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
It's all going to come true. Whatever we can think of, we can create. Believe it or not, that's what our reality is. It may take a little bit longer. On the other side, we create it instantly because we're pure energy. But on this side, it takes a little bit longer, but we do have that ability. Eventually, I do see a golden age, and I do see that people will live more in communities. They'll live in round houses. They will share with each other. There will be bartering. There won't be any kind of money system. There will be this reverence of the earth, and children will be, the new children coming in are going to be so psychic and so intuitive. They will be our teachers, many of them. And some of them already are coming in like that are teaching us.
They sure are.
So, I think there's a beautiful world coming. I really do. And we're going to go through some changes. A lot of times you have to go through the pain before you have the beautiful baby, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I say that all the time. We're the midwives of this horrible time, and we're giving birth to something absolutely beautiful, but it will be painful. It will be painful for many people.
It will, because they don't understand. And I know there's many people that aren't there, that awakening yet, but they will in time awaken. And to don't ever say that they have to learn right now, because their time is coming. Everything has a time, and just bless them and say it's going to happen, but you're going to awaken, but the time will be right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it seems to be happening more and more on a spontaneous level, and on a different level. Some people are waking up politically, some people are waking up ecologically, some people are waking up spiritually, and that's fine, whatever their passion or their their heart is drawing them to. That's absolutely wonderful. I don't agree with all of them, and that's fine too. They don't agree with me. So
No, no,
not
they
everyone
don't agree
agrees
with
with me.
me. No, that's fine. I still think that you were an indigenous in your other life. I think that
Oh,
is,
yes.
yeah, you were, and I know you know that. So
Yes, yes, I feel it. I feel it.
yes, you were.
Now, Betsy, tell us about your website. Where can people find more information about the work you're doing? Tell where they can find the book.
Okay. That's betseylewis.com. And Betsy's spelled a little bit different. It's Betsey. Lewis is Lewis.com. And I post my Earth News One daily blog every day. I've got all kinds of predictions and things on there. What's going on with the Earth, the sun, volcanoes, any kind of strange, mysterious booms, UFOs. So be sure and check that out. There's some cool stuff on there.
Oh, good. Very
Yeah.
cool. And they
Yeah.
can find the book there, and there's a link to that as well.
Yes, there is. Absolutely.
All right, and now, has the book been released? Is it already like on Amazon and such?
It is.
Oh.
It's also Kindle and paperbacks, so they can get either one if they like.
Oh, good.
It seems to be selling well, and I've had 2 great reviews on there, so I'm really excited. And I'm going to be on a lot of other talk shows coming up, so check my website out. You'll be able to see that in. It looks like I'll be on Coast to Coast again, so we'll see when that's going to be.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
I'm
great.
excited. Yeah.
So, Betsy, one last thing. We've only got about 30 seconds. What would be your
Okay.
last message? What would be your message if all of humanity was listening right now?
Oh my goodness, you really put me on the spot. To love. It's all about love. That's what the universe is all about, the love vibration. Keep that in your heart and in your mind and radiate that out to the world. Think about all the people around you and send them love.
Wonderful.
So thank you so much, Bernard.
Thank you, Betsy. It's always a pleasure. And everybody, next week we will have Dr. Will Spencer joining us to talk about alternative health and the flu and all that kind of great stuff. We'll be